Thank you for listening to Stories at Pink Meow Meow Audio. Hope you enjoy the story. That summer, my parents brought home a boy. His name is Luke Track, 4 years older than me, skinny, quiet. The first time I saw him, I was sitting on the front steps, hugging a yellow teddy bear and munching on a half-baked strawberry cake. The parents got out of the car, followed by a woman in a suit, and the boy, silent as a shadow. I looked at him through my fingers. My first feeling was boredom. He is not like the boys I usually hang out with. No smile, no talk, no curious look around my villa like the first time I went to my friend's house. He just bowed his head like a stray cat he had picked up, not daring to breathe loudly. "Nya Ann," my mother called me, her voice soft, as if afraid of scaring someone. "Come here and say hello to Mr. Luke Truck. From today, he will live with us." I frowned immediately. "Brother? I have never had a brother." My father laughed and patted my head. "From now on, you have to be good and love me, okay?" I didn't answer, just hugged the teddy bear tighter, glanced at the boy standing next to him. His skin was pale, his shoulders were thin, as if they couldn't stand the wind. His clothes were old and somewhat wrinkled. I suddenly felt a little sorry, but sorry doesn't mean I like it. That night, my mother cleaned Luke Track's room, the room right next to mine. I stood at the door watching him sitting on the bed, holding a tiny backpack. He didn't say a word. "The toys in the closet are mine. I clearly declare you are not allowed to touch them. The strawberry yogurt in the fridge is mine. If you eat, I will tell Mom." He nodded. No word of protest. I was surprised. The boys I know are all argumentative, competitive, and argumentative. Luke Track is not. He just nodded and bowed his head in silence. From that day on, I started to have a brother that I never expected. Every morning, Luke Track wakes up earlier than me. He tidied up my books, cleared the table, and even made me milk without me asking. His parents started to scold him more and more. Track is so good. Track is a good student and knows how to take care of his younger siblings. Track is truly a gift from God. Those words kept lingering during the meal. In the living room, even in the parent-teacher conferences I eavesdropped on, I began to feel redundant. I know I'm selfish, but I'm young. I just don't want my parents' love to be shared. When I was 7 years old, my birthday was celebrated as grandly as every year. Lots of candy, balloons, friends, and even a pale pink princess dress. But what I remember most clearly that day was the tiny box of fruit that Luke Track gave me. For my sister. He didn't say anything more, just shoved a kitten-shaped hair clip into my hand. It wasn't shiny or beautiful like the ones I usually had, but I found it strangely appealing. "Do it yourself?" He nodded. "You are ugly, but I like you." I said so. Then I said something that made his eyes light up. "When I grow up, I will marry you." Luke Track was a bit stunned and then smiled. The first smile I saw since the day he came to my house. I didn't understand anything about the promise at that time, nor did I think I would remember. But maybe he is the one who keeps his word. In elementary and high school, we grew further and further apart. I'm busy studying, busy with friends, busy liking handsome upperclassmen. As for Luke Track, he grew up quietly like that. Calm, quiet, never causing trouble, never complaining. He studied so well that he was admitted directly to a key high school, praised by teachers and respected by friends. My parents are increasingly proud. I'm starting to hate you. Not the hate of an enemy, but the vague annoyance of a child who doesn't know how to share love. I remember once my father said if Track were his biological son, he would not wish for anything more. At that moment, I clenched my fists, not knowing whether I was angry or hurt. Luke Track is still there, still silently doing everything, still making milk for me every morning if I oversleep, still reminding me to bring an umbrella if it rains, even though I no longer respond with a word of thanks. Maybe I have been treating you like an invisible person in this house. One day, I asked him when we both happened to come home at the same time, "Are you that good to me? Is it because of parents? Because if you like me, you will inherit the company in the future and I will benefit too." I'm not sure why I asked that question. Maybe it was jealousy. Maybe it was because I couldn't understand what that guy was thinking. Luke Track looked at me for a long time and then he softly said, "Yes, you can think like that." I was speechless. I should have felt elated. But why does my chest hurt? From that moment, he and I, although living under the same roof, began to enter two completely different worlds. I'm 13 years old and he is 17. If someone asked me who I hate the most in the world, I wouldn't hesitate to answer right away. Luke Track. That reason? Much. He was a good student, handsome, loved by teachers, and was also an exemplary adopted son that my parents loved more than gold. As for me, I'm just Tongya Ann, a stubborn biological daughter with average academic performance, always being compared. I tried to learn from him, sitting at the desk studying all night, taking hundreds of notes, trying to remember every physics formula, but my grades were still mediocre, while he was born to be a genius. Every time she handed out the test, the homeroom teacher looked at me and sighed, "If only I was half as good as Luke Track." Half? I screamed in my head, "I am Tongya Ann. I don't need to be a copy of anyone." The biggest frustration of puberty is not because crush doesn't like you, but because your parents praise you. Adopted children are more than biological children. Look at Track, obedient, polite, never disobeying their parents. Track has been working part-time recently. You should learn to be independent too. I tapped my chopsticks on my rice bowl, said nothing, and just focused on finishing my meal. Every time he is present at a meal, I feel choked up. I don't know why. Maybe because he was so quiet. The more quiet he was, the more annoyed I became. He always sat across from me, put vegetables in my bowl without looking, then gently reminded me to eat slowly. That's embarrassing. I pushed the chopsticks aside and stood up. "Who do you think you are? Is that my brother?" No one said anything, just the sound of chopsticks hitting the table and my father's eyes looking at me full of disappointment. But I don't care anymore. I'm 13, I'm old enough to realize that in this house, you are the pride and I am the shadow. One afternoon, I came home from school. It was raining in the middle of the road. I forgot to bring an umbrella, and my phone was out of battery. While standing under the porch, a car stopped in front of me. It was Mr. Luke Track who opened the car door, didn't ask anything, just handed me a dry towel. "Get in the car." I gritted my teeth, didn't stay still. He didn't force me, just waited silently. My anger was like being soaked by the rain. Finally, I opened the door, sat in the passenger seat. The whole way, no one said anything. I turned my face to the window and whispered, "Are you doing this to get points with your parents?" He didn't answer, just turned the air conditioner down low and gave me a piece of ginger candy. "Don't catch a cold." At that moment, I wanted to scream. "Why are you so nice to me? So good that I can't hate you completely." But I didn't scream, just silently sucked on the candy. The spicy ginger smell gradually dissipated in my throat, leaving a strangely unpleasant aftertaste. A few months later, my school held a debate competition. I participated for the first time, wanting to prove that I was good and valuable. I prepared for 2 weeks, practicing speaking in front of the mirror every night. On the day of the competition, I was shaking like a leaf, standing on the stage, looking down at the audience, and suddenly caught his eyes. He sat in the last row, wearing a high school uniform, quietly looking at me, not smiling, not clapping, just nodding slightly as if in a silent encouragement.
I spoke the entire speech without missing a word, and I won the prize. The whole class applauded, the teacher praised, friends rushed to take pictures. I turned back to the empty last seat. I didn't know when he left. He came quietly and then quietly disappeared, like every other time in my life. That night, I put the award photo frame on the table and quietly walked into his room. "Are you here to cheer me up?" He looked up from his book. "Yes." "Why not say?" "I'm afraid you'll lose focus." I smiled faintly. "I'm afraid you can do better than me." Luke Track frowned but did not refute. He just said, "I always wish you better." I choked, because that saying is kind to the point of being annoying. It was as if he never got angry, never got hurt, always so gentle that I couldn't find a reason to hate him anymore. I used to think, if one day you disappeared from my world, would I feel relieved? I have no answer. I just know that at that time, I hated him very much. Hate to the point of tears. Hate because I don't understand you, and hate even more because I don't understand myself. 3 years later, I returned. He was a different person. I stood in front of Tongthi Company's door, my hair slightly curly, my skirt past my knees, my eyes behind my sunglasses shining with confidence that I had practiced for a long time to achieve. People say studying abroad will change a person, and I believe that's true for me. But it seems it's also true for Luke Track. As soon as I entered the hall, I heard chatter. The young CEO is really excellent. I heard that to be promoted from assistant in just 2 years, no matter how much support you have, you must have the ability to be like that. I intended to pass by, but when that name entered my ears, I stopped. Luke Track. Handsome, cold, and extremely talented. If I had a lover like that, I would be so happy I could cry. I was stunned. CEO Luke Track? My world seemed to have been turned upside down by someone. The silent boy from years ago, the one I used to loudly say I hated, has now become the center of attention in this building. And I, the girl who used to be the president's daughter, suddenly became the one being put behind him. I met him at the elevator on the 16th floor. He walked out of the meeting room, his white shirt neat, the gray hem half loose, his indifferent eyes passing me like a breeze. It's not that I don't realize it, it's that I deliberately don't stop. Aren't you saying hello to me? I spoke first, though my voice was a bit strained. He turned his head and nodded slightly, welcoming me home. Short and polite. It was as if we had never lived under the same roof for 10 years. It was as if my 7th birthday never happened, where I said I would marry you when I grew up. That evening I went home. The old house was familiar but no longer felt as familiar as before. My parents still waited for me with warm smiles and asked me all kinds of questions. But in the stories, the name Luke Track appeared with a frequency that made me feel uneasy. Track just signed a big contract. The partner even sent compliments. Don't worry about the company. Track is there. I'm very reassured. I just smiled, but inside a quiet wave rose. I started to pay more attention to him, not because I missed him, nor because I loved him, but just because I was not willing. Every morning on my way to work, I run into him. He always arrived early, coffee in hand, schedule in mind, not a minute left for things like small talk with me. Before, he used to make milk for me. Before, I used to get angry with him for being too good. But now, he doesn't even bother to ask if I slept well. He was the one he cared about the most. At least I thought so. But now I'm just a Tong Ya-an whose father is the chairman. One day, I asked him out to dinner. The reason is to ask some questions about the company, but actually I just wanted to know what was in his heart. But I didn't. He was still on time, still polite, but from beginning to end he only talked about work. Not a single personal question, not a single greeting. I deliberately tested you. There are rumors that you and your assistant are very close. He looked up and calmly replied, "Don't let the side stories affect your work." Just like that, I was pushed aside, both light and painful. On the way back, I blurted that you were so good to my parents and so devoted to the company. Was it because you wanted to please my family? The car was silent. I felt so stupid, but I had already said it. I couldn't take it back. He replied, his voice neither high nor low, "If you think so, then just think so." The same sentence as a few years ago was still light. No argument, no anger, but this time I didn't feel happy. I felt like a real stranger in his world. That night, I opened the old drawer in my room. There was a box of iron that I had hidden since I was little. Inside were a few old photos, some handwritten notes, and a kitten-shaped hair clip. The clip was dented and decolored, but I still remembered when I was 7 years old. It was the first birthday gift he gave me. I used to wear it in my hair for a whole week. I said I would marry him when I grew up. I laughed. At that time, I didn't understand anything about marriage. I just thought he was the first person to give me a homemade fruit. I thought I forgot. But I looked at myself in the mirror. The light reflected a different face. Delicate makeup, a smile that knew how to hide emotions, a voice that knew how to be gentle. The current me is no longer the stubborn girl of the past, but standing in front of you, I am still clumsy as before. I don't know what I want, and I'm not satisfied because he's better, or I'm heartbroken because he's no longer my brother. I just know one thing. I lost something a long time ago. I have a habit. Every time I feel like lying, I will clean up. It's not because I'm neat, it's because when my hands are busy, my mind is quieter. So that one calm evening, I decided to take out all the old stuff in my room and clean it out. How long has it been since I opened the left drawer? Probably since leaving to study abroad, or maybe even longer. There were cardboard boxes, some old toys, a few short diaries from 6th grade, and at the bottom of the closet, I found a rusted silver metal box. I opened it. The lid was covered in dust. Inside were a few blurry photos, a few birthday cards, and a childish handwritten note with scribbles. I will be the bride and you will be the groom. When I grow up, I will marry you. Superman Luke Trek. My teddy bear's ear is broken. Can you fix it? I was silent for a long time. Not because I was surprised, but because I forgot. I used to really like him. When I was little, he always followed me quietly. When I fell, he didn't rush to help me, but stood there waiting to see if I cried. If I didn't cry, he would come over and give me the Band-Aid he always carried in his pocket. When I was bullied by other girls, he didn't show his face, but then quietly put my favorite candy in my bag. No name, no message. I used to think it was obvious, but now that I'm older, I realize that love without noise doesn't mean it doesn't exist. I sat on the floor, still holding the old card in my hand, my heart strangely stirred. I was the stupid kid who said I would marry you. I used to giggle every time he made a face at my mess. I used to think you were my brother, but now I know I was wrong. I remember the figure of him coming home from school in the rain, his shirt soaked from giving me an umbrella. I remember the time he stood outside the exam room waiting for me for 3 hours. I remember you existed as an indispensable part of my childhood, yet I was the one who erased you from my world. The next day, I went to work in a strange mood. It felt like seeing him was important, even a little exciting. I don't know how to face him, not because I was embarrassed, but because I was starting to want to understand him. I secretly observed him in the meeting room, his eyes when talking to partners, when signing documents, when frowning while reading contracts. He was so different from my memory, more mature, sharper, and more distant. "What are you looking at?" His voice startled me. He turned, his eyes stopping on my face. I quickly walked away, stammering, "No, nothing." He didn't ask any more questions, just slightly raised his lips as if smiling but not smiling, then turned back to the screen. I was confused. My heart was beating wildly. What was I doing? That night, I took the initiative to ask him out to eat, not for work reasons, but because I wanted to try to clarify my feelings. The small restaurant on the corner of the street, selling Japanese-style ramen that I really liked. He used to take me here when I got bad grades, and we ate a bowl of spicy ramen without complaining. This time, I chose the same dish. When I brought it up, I hesitantly asked, "Do you remember the last time we came here?" He raised his head, the light shining through made his eyes darken. "Yes, that time I ate too much spicy food, I coughed and choked. I had to pour a glass of water into the bowl to make it easier for you to eat." I laughed. He laughed too, and at that moment, I felt like the invisible distance between us had shrunk a little. I was about to say, "I found the hairpin you gave me that year. I wanted to ask you if you remember I said I would marry you, but I didn't say it because I was scared. Afraid that if I asked, I would get a polite smile and the same answer as before. Just think so. I don't want to hear that again." That night, I went home and couldn't sleep. I lay staring at the ceiling, thinking about all the times he silently helped me, all the looks he gave me that I used to ignore, every little thing I used to forget. Am I having a crush on you? No, not a crush. A crush doesn't last a decade like that. This is a buried, forgotten feeling that time quietly digs up again. It's just that by the time I want to admit it, it's probably too late. There was a rumor spreading in the company that Tong Ya-an and general manager Luke did not like each other. It sounds funny because we have lived together for more than 10 years. But in the eyes of my colleagues, I am the chairman's daughter, and an outsider rising to a high position is both worthy and makes people wary. I didn't pay attention to those sidewalk news until my name appeared in an article. The chairman's daughter abused her power and trampled on her colleagues, making things difficult for the young CEO. The post was posted anonymously on a popular office forum with a few photos of me eating with him. Then another story came out of nowhere. I intentionally approached him to control power in the company. I was so angry my hands were shaking. But what shocked me the most was the most prominent comment below. "Tong Ya-an is the reason why Luke Track couldn't develop faster. What a sweet burden." I sneered. Burden. Yes, I am not as good as you, but I have never done anything wrong. I tried too. Why make me the bad?
Right? Because I was the one who was rejected, the one who hurt him, the one who came late in my own story. That night, I sat on my bed, hugging my pillow, texting my best friend. I feel angry, but there is no reason to be angry. My friend texted back that he just likes her. I pursed my lips and typed back, I don't like it. I love. An ellipsis appears and disappears. In the end, my friend just sent a heart-hugging emoji. The next day, I tried to approach him as usual, knocking on his office door with a cup of coffee in hand. He looked up at me, a little surprised, but still nodded his thanks. I stood there for a few seconds and then said, If you don't mind, are you free tonight? I'd like to treat you to dinner. He stopped, his face showing a hint of hesitation. He replied, I have an appointment with a partner today. I nodded, trying to smile normally. Then I'm going back to my room. Have a nice evening. I closed the door, my heart trembling slightly. I don't want anything big. I just want to be with him, even for a simple meal. But it seems like even that small thing is far away. That night, I passed by the restaurant I used to like. I saw him sitting inside. Opposite him was her, Anne, of course. The two of them didn't act intimately, but the way they talked, the way he looked at her, calm, respectful, but gentler than what I had ever felt. I stood outside, stunned, my hand clutching the strap of my bag. I used to sit there. I used to be looked at with that look. I used to be the one he took to dinner, sharing a plate of salad and a glass of lemonade with. But now, I'm just an outsider looking in. I don't really blame him. I just blame myself for waking up too late, walking a beat slower than others. I came home without turning on the lights, lying down on the bed. I didn't cry. My eyes were dry as if the tears had flowed back into my heart. I remembered when I was little, when I didn't want to eat. He used to feed me spoon by spoon. When I was afraid of ghosts, he turned on the pillow and slept in the room until morning. When I was sick, he mixed milk and cooked porridge to take neat notes. Eat. Stop trying to be strong. I'm strong now, but the person beside me is no longer you. I didn't call, text, or knock on his door. I just quietly went to work, finished my work, smiled at my colleagues, and avoided places where I might run into him. I'm not hiding. I'm just afraid of hoping again. I know clearly that the person who hurt me, even though it was unintentional, is still the person I love the most. One day, my friend asked, Still waiting? I smiled lightly, finishing the cup of tea in front of me. I don't know. Sometimes I want to give up, but just thinking about the fact that he really doesn't have any feelings for me anymore, I feel so much pain that I can't breathe. The first time I realized that loving someone is not waiting for them to come back, but accepting the possibility that they will never come back. I still go to work, still live as if nothing happened. It's just that every time I pass by your room, I walk faster. Every time I hear someone mention your name, I drink another sip of water. And every night I wonder, if I could go back in time, would you choose to love me again? That day, I woke up with an unusually heavy feeling. The sky was gray, and the clouds were like woven fabric, and each gust of wind blew through the window, causing the curtains to sway slightly. I sat in front of the mirror, applying blush as usual, but my heart felt empty. My father had called early to tell me to come to the company's main office to study urgently because there was something that needed to be handled. The content was quite vague. It was about the internal complaint contract and a few urgent words. I didn't ask much. There had been some changes in the company recently, and I vaguely felt that something was wrong. When I arrived, I entered the lobby on the 5th floor and was handed a document by the secretary that someone had sent to the legal department. The content was related to Miss Tong. I flipped through a few pages of photos and a few recordings, the voice a man, and my voice. I was stunned. Someone edited my words from meetings, took out the misleading parts, and created a transcript that falsely accused me of visiting the project fund. A dirty game. I knew right away who was behind it. The person I rejected outright when I was a trainee. The person who quietly left after being discovered by Luck Track for his cheating behavior. He has returned. I left the office without saying a word. I needed air, needed calm, but my whole body was shaking. I have never seen myself so weak. My palms were cold and my mind was spinning. I didn't know that there was someone who just left the meeting room, ran down the stairs instead of waiting for the elevator, and called me no less than 3 times on the phone. That person is Luck Track. I walked towards an outdoor parking lot. The rain was drizzling. The noise behind me made me turn around in surprise, and the scene that unfolded in the next millisecond is something I will never forget. A black car rushed straight ahead, no horn, no brakes. I stood there rooted to the spot, eyes wide open, unable to move my legs, body stiff like a stone statue. And then I was pushed aside. The rumble was like a thunderclap hitting the ears. The rain poured down. At that moment, I lay on the ground, my clothes dirty, my heart pounding, my throat choking. I turned and saw him. Luck Track lay a few meters away from me, blood flowing from his head, wetting his collar. I ran towards him with both hands, screaming without making a sound. "Luck Track, brother, are you listening to me?" He frowned, trying to open his eyes, his lips moving, his voice hoarse like the wind passing over the edge of a cliff. "It's good that you're fine." And then he passed out. Ambulance siren. My father's voice was shouting loudly over the phone. My heart was pounding in my chest like it was going to explode. I sat huddled in front of the emergency room. The raincoat was not warm enough, but I did not feel cold. My whole body turned to stone. This time, don't misunderstand that I almost lost my life because of you. I whispered to myself, each word pouring out like a knife stabbing my heart. The image of blood on his forehead, the look in his eyes before he passed out, that weak sentence kept repeating in my head. I used to doubt you. I used to push away your feelings. I used to say harsh, arbitrary words to you, and you never blamed me. He just waited for me every day, every month, every long, bitter year. Until today, when I was about to lose him, the doctor came out. I rushed over. "How is he?" "Head injury, severe blood loss, but temporarily out of danger. Still need further monitoring." I fell to my knees. When I entered the recovery room and saw him lying there, pale and silent, I couldn't hold back anymore. I burst into tears. No longer the arrogant, rational, or strong Tongya Anne. Only I remained, a girl who had just realized that her heart had never left the man named Luck Track. I sat by the bedside, holding his hand. His hand was cold, but I still held it tightly, as if I let go, he would disappear. "I'm sorry. I was wrong. Can you not sleep so long? This time, it's my turn to wait for you. I don't need your forgiveness. I don't need you to love me all over again. I just need you to open your eyes and look at me again." I whispered, as if praying. Outside the window, the rain stopped. The first soft rays of sunlight of the day appeared like a fragile promise. I don't know how long I'll have to wait, but I know for sure I won't leave. Not this time. 4 days later, he still hasn't woken up. His body was more stable. The heart rate monitor was beeping steadily with the familiar sound, but he still lay there quietly, motionless, as if he was having a very long dream and didn't want to wake up. I cleaned out his bag, the bag the nurse gave him when he was admitted to the hospital, which contained his wallet, watch, phone, and some personal papers. I have never searched your wallet before. Even though we've lived together for more than 10 years, I still keep a boundary between me and him as a way to protect myself. But now, I don't want to keep my distance anymore. I want to understand you, want to know everything you've ever kept. I opened my wallet, papers, bank cards, and a few supermarket receipts. Then I saw an old photo. The tiny photo was a little crooked at the corner, but I noticed it as soon as I saw it. That's a photo of me when I was 7, and he was 11, taken in front of the house. I sat on his shoulder, made a V sign, and he smiled. A very rare smile. On the back of the photo, there are a few lines written in blue ballpoint pen, familiar and neat handwriting. I said I would marry you. I forgot, but you did not. I keep people. I flipped the photo over and over, as if afraid it would disappear. Luck Track, how long have you kept it in your wallet? 10 years? 15 years? Every day he opens his wallet, he sees me. It was a childish promise that he kept in mind throughout his youth. Tears welled up in my eyes as I held up the photo. I quickly wiped them away, as if afraid of blurring it. I never knew. It turns out that his feelings for